The golden rule of change. Ever argue with your colleagues? Perhaps with your partner? Ever struggle to maintain faith in your business and in yourself? Ever feel like the path you need to take is impossible? This will help. The golden rule of change. Hey everybody, it's Julia Freeland with Revolve View, and I'm here to share a little bit about one of the theories that forms the foundation of all the work that I do with my clients. My philosophy is that we all need to learn how to thrive in change. With how fast our world is changing, if we don't learn this skill, thriving in change, then we all stand to become irrelevant and really struggle in our careers and our businesses. As entrepreneurs, I know how much we have to master this skill of learning to thrive in change. Heck, our entire livelihood is all about change. And yet, not many of us really think about what skills it takes to become good at thriving in change. Through my work, I have identified 5 core traits of people who thrive in change: confident, self-aware, humble, growth-minded, and driven. These 5 traits are not only critical to thriving in change, but they're also the characteristics of all truly great leaders that are going to make a difference and a real impact in the future. Hopefully, as an entrepreneur, you can see that you yourself have many of these characteristics. I just noticed that there's a book being released soon that's all about humility is the new smart. And that is the one trait on there that tends to attract the most attention. Entrepreneurship for sure teaches us all to be humble. Oof, boy, is it teaching me to be humble. But there's a lot of entrepreneurs that really struggle with that component of it. We all kind of balance this need to be able to say, yeah, everything's great, it's all good. And then also say, actually, we really need some help. Being authentic and vulnerable to what's really happening with us is one of the hardest things we have to learn for the future, but it's a part of the change process. Being able to embrace being wrong, actually, is a big part of the change process. And that's what today's topic is all about. I call it the golden rule of change. This golden rule of change helps all of us be able to embrace being wrong and open our minds to the possibilities. The golden rule of change is quite simple. When you feel yourself close around a judgment or limiting perspective, force yourself to see the other perspective is possible. This is a pathway to a growth mindset. And a growth mindset is what we all need in order to learn to be creative and innovative and relevant and valuable in future careers. This golden rule of change can be applied in all types of scenarios, whether you're talking about relationships, information, opportunities, thoughts, communication, beliefs, actions, or perspectives. In any of these scenarios, consider trying to apply this golden rule of change to help you expand your perspective and expand your awareness of other possibilities, which is really at the core of what a growth mindset means. There are so many different uses for this rule. But first, before we dive into those, I'm going to have you watch a video that I've recorded as a part of my training program, and it will run you through a little exercise that will help illustrate how this golden rule of change works. This golden rule of change has become a huge part of my approach to life. And it's the way when I find myself locking into a judgment or spiraling out of control on some particular idea, when I feel my emotions bubbling up and I'm really starting to tank in my belief in myself, or perhaps I'm tanking in the belief of an outcome of some particular situation or something that I'm working on, I use this one golden rule of change to help me shift the way I think about everything. It opens up the doors to possibilities. So what is this golden rule of change? Every single time you feel your brain lock into some particular idea, some judgment, what I want you to do is I want you to force your brain to think that the opposite is true. And then I want you to think about what kind of situation, what type of scenario, what kind of components would make it so that that particular other outcome is true. So the opposite is true. So let's say I want to be a rock star and I don't believe that I can possibly become a rock star. Like, I just know it. I can't be a rock star. So every single time you hear yourself say, I know it, that's the trigger. That's the thing that you want to capture. If you know that something's not going to happen, well, what's happening is your brain has just locked into tunnel vision onto one particular idea, and now you're locked in place there. And literally, it's impossible now for it to be anything else other than what you know. So in the process of trying to learn how to adjust and thrive in change, it's really important that we learn different ways to start opening up our minds and not know so much. We need to let go of knowing, and we need to start considering other options. So when I say, I know I can't be a rock star, I stop myself and I think, wait a minute. Okay, let's force myself to believe the impossible, that I could be a rock star. Okay, what kind of conditions would need to exist in order for that to be possible? Right? Well, I would have to learn how to sing really well. My family always told me that my sister could sing, but I couldn't. Okay, my kids think I sing okay, so maybe that's all right. Maybe that's not such a big deal. And you can do a lot with vocal dynamics. Maybe someone could just tweak my voice a little bit and really make it sound great. I would need to have a band. So actually, I used to know some people who run a band. I do actually know quite a few people that do have a band. Oh, well, maybe I could have a band. And then I'd have to know some people that would help get me into the music industry so that I could crack my way in. Oh, actually, I do know some people in the music industry. Maybe I could do this. It's really far-fetched, but if I switch my brain, if I flip it around and I consider the possibilities, now instead of knowing that I cannot be a rock star, now I can say, well, do I really want to be a rock star? Because maybe it could be possible if I really wanted it. So how did I come up with this idea in the first place, the one golden rule of change? Well, it came out of crisis, like most great ideas come from. I was working in a company and I was placed at extreme odds with another employee, another leader actually. And the two of us were put in a position where we were literally butting heads a lot. And I didn't agree with anything that this person was doing. In fact, I felt like he was narcissistic. I felt like he was trying to penalize my staff. I felt like he was trying to create more of an elitist system within the company, which had been very egalitarian. I felt like the new system that he was trying to implement was something that was not going to work for our company. And I felt like every single interaction that he had with me was him trying to make fun of me or belittle me or put me in a spot where I was not looking good. It got to a really bad place where I was in the spot of losing my job. In desperation, I thought, okay, let's just use this opposite idea. And what would happen if I forced myself to think about the opposite of what I think? So if I thought that he was being ridiculously mean to me, if I forced it to think that actually he's being really nice to me, what conditions would have to exist? What viewpoint does he have in order for that to be the case? Well, you know that phrase, walk a mile in their shoes? Well, it's a great phrase, but unfortunately it's missing a huge component. That key component is the fact that you need to take your shoes off first before you put their shoes on to walk in. Because if you still have your shoes on, meaning you still have your perspective, as you're walking in their shoes, as you're testing out their perspective, guess whose perspective you see? Yours. You have to be able to take yourself out of the picture, take your shoes off, and then be able to put their shoes on. Then be able to walk in their shoes. Look at the world from their perspective. That's what the golden rule of change does. It helps you look at the world from a very different perspective. And when I did this with this particular employee, I started understanding that the interactions that I was taking as being offensive and mean were actually his really grand attempts to try to help me be able to see the world from a different perspective. And I was fighting it a lot. So this golden rule of change helped me be able to understand how it was that I was shooting myself in the foot, how I was stopping myself from making progress, and how I was creating true conflict where it didn't belong. I've used this golden rule of change in many situations. This golden rule of change is truly a revolutionary rule. To thrive in a changing world, we need to believe in the possibilities. We also need to be able to see them. And this golden rule of change helps that. What it leads to: an open mind, collaboration, open negotiation, trust, better interactions, understanding, innovation, better view of reality, new ideas, inclusion, confidence, curiosity, and forgiveness. Problems it can help with are relationships, conflict, closed-minded thinking, feeling trapped, boredom, feeling hopeless, depression, defensiveness, repeating old ideas, my way or the highway fixed mindset, lack of diversity, exclusion, and bitterness. This one rule, when applied, can truly create harmony and develop a growth mindset. This golden rule of change may seem simple at first glance, but believe me, in order to implement it throughout your life, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of confidence and a lot of belief in your own value. Why? Because you need to believe so strongly in your own value that you're willing to take your value and put it on a shelf and kind of like say, okay, you're okay over there. And then be able to look at yourself from the perspective of another, or look at one of your ideas from the perspective of another, and be able to really critically evaluate how you think, or the quality of your idea, or the quality of your actions and your behaviors. If you do this right, you can be brought to tears actually with the impact of some of your actions and perhaps the quality of some of your ideas. You need to keep in mind that no matter what, you still have an extreme value. Understanding and owning that extreme value and being okay over here on a shelf, put safely away, so that you can grab it back once you've had the opportunity to really see yourself from the perspective of another. That gives you the confidence and the power to make the change that you need to make now that you've seen another perspective.